From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Wednesday, December the 28th, 2016. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry spoke at the State Department today, where he addressed the United States' decision to abstain from the recent vote at the UN Security Council, as well as about prospects for peace between Israel and the Palestinians. Kerry stressed in his opening remarks President Obama's longtime deep commitment to Israel and its security, and the U.S. commitment to a two-state solution, saying there was still a way forward to achieve peace. Referring to the criticism of the U.S. abstention,
regrettably, some seem to believe that the U.S. friendship means the U.S. must accept any policy, regardless of our own interests, our own positions, our own words, our own principles, even after urging again and again that the policy must change. Friends need to tell each other the hard truths.
The Secretary of State said the vote at the UN was about preserving the two-state solution and that there was a choice for Israel to be one state or two.
If the choice is one state, Israel can either be Jewish or democratic. It cannot be both, and it won't ever really be at peace.
Kerry, in his remarks, also stressed that there was no justification for terrorism and condemned the ongoing actions of terror group Hamas. He also criticized recent UNESCO resolutions against Israel. Kerry said the U.S. rejects the notion that Friday's vote abandons Israel and stressed that the U.S. did not draft or push the agenda of the vote, as some have reported in the media.
In the end, we did not agree with every word in this resolution. There are important issues that are not sufficiently addressed or even addressed at all. But we could not in good conscience veto a resolution that condemns violence and incitement and reiterates what has been for a long time the overwhelming consensus and international view on settlements.
Kerry presented 6 principles for a path forward to peace, which include providing for secure and recognized borders between Israel and a viable and contiguous Palestinian state based on 1967 lines with mutual land swaps. Also, 2 states for 2 people with mutual recognition and full equal rights for all citizens. A principle also regarding just, fair, and realistic solutions for the Palestinian refugee issue, an agreed resolution for Jerusalem as the internationally recognized capital of 2 states, and satisfying Israel's security needs. And lastly, to end the conflict and all outstanding claims, enabling normalized relations as envisioned in the Arab Peace Initiative. Kerry concluded his remarks saying that a final status agreement can only be achieved with direct talks between Israel and the Palestinians, saying the U.S. would not impose a framework on Israel, nor would it take action at the UN regarding recognition of a Palestinian state. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responded to Kerry's remarks, calling the Secretary of State's statements skewed.
But now I must express my deep disappointment with the speech today of John Kerry. A speech that was almost as unbalanced as the anti-Israel resolution passed at the UN last week. In a speech ostensibly about peace between Israelis and Palestinians, Secretary Kerry paid lip service to the unremitting campaign of terrorism that has been waged by the Palestinians against the Jewish state for nearly a century. What he did was to spend most of his speech blaming Israel for the lack of peace by passionately condemning a policy of enabling Jews to live in their historic homeland and in their eternal capital, Jerusalem.
In other news, Israel's security agency, the Shin Bet, arrested a Hamas terrorist after he crossed into Israel from Gaza last month. Bilal Razine shared information with the Shin Bet on terror tunnels in Gaza, which he took part in digging. And a Palestinian terrorist who was an accomplice in the murders of 2 Israelis last year was sentenced to 35 years in jail today. 22-year-old Abed al-Aziz Ma'ari was convicted of planning and assisting Mohand Halabi in an attack which killed Rabbi Nehemiah Levi and Aaron Bennett in Jerusalem's Old City last October. Actress and writer Carrie Fisher died yesterday. Fisher had suffered a heart attack on an airplane on Friday. She was the granddaughter of Russian Jewish immigrants and the daughter of Jewish singer Eddie Fisher and actress Debbie Reynolds. Fisher's work includes such films as When Harry Met Sally and, of course, the iconic role Princess Leia in Star Wars. She was 60 years old. The Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial Museum launched an international conference for Jewish educators this week. The conference was opened Monday night by Holocaust survivor and chairman of the Yad Vashem Council, Rabbi Yisrael Meir Lau, who lit the Krakow menorah, a rare menorah belonging to the Polish Jewish community dating back to the late 18th or early 19th century. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Wednesday, December the 28th. Coming up right after this newscast tonight at 6:30, Mark Gala will weigh in on Secretary of State Kerry's remarks today. At 8, Adam Zubin of the U.S. Department of Treasury discusses his coordinating the sanctions on Iran and other issues with Jerusalem Post editor-in-chief Yaakov Katz from the Jewish Federation of North America's General Assembly. At 9, it's part 2 of a special L'chaim looking at the major events of the past year in the Jewish world. And that's the JBS News Update for Wednesday, December the 28th, 2016. I'm Teisha Bader. Chag Sameach.